Hello, you're all very welcome to this live stream of the Talk of the League podcast on the weekly Armchair Sports Talk. My name is Matt Smith, and I've been joined again by Jamie McCoy. He's back after getting the teeth ripped out of his head last week. So, Jamie, how are you, my friend? You all good?
I'm keeping them all right, mate. I'm better this Monday than I was last Monday, pain-wise, that's for sure. But delighted to see your face as always, mate. And like I say every week, we've got some football to talk, haven't we?
We do indeed. And thanks again to Mark for stepping in last week. And he's had a bit of a rough patch this week as well with illness. So hopefully he's over the worst of it now this week as well. But yeah, we've loads to talk about in terms of. We're going to obviously go through the results in the weekend. We have one game coming up tonight that's going to be live. It's Everton are away to Tottenham. We have a guest on with us hopefully this evening as well. Steve, he's a Tottenham fan as well. So we're going to be chatting a bit about that. We're going to be doing the upcoming fixtures as well. We're also going to talk about the derby as well, the Manchester derby that happened on the weekend. So yeah, loads to talk about. Let's see if he's here. Hold on. He is here, so we'll get him in. Steve, how are you, mate?
There he is.
Good, yourselves.
There he is, mate. All good,
Okay,
pal.
mate.
Welcome to the stream.
Cheers, thanks for having me.
No problem. We all looking forward to the game tonight.
Well, if you go by our form, like as a Spurs fan, you would be just simply because of our inconsistency means we win every second game. So
There you go. You're expecting a hard game tonight, Steve, or do you fancy it?
you see, it really depends on what way Everton go about the game. So, like, we struggle against teams that play a low block. We like if I'm Frank Lampard tonight, I'd have quite a deep defensive line, and I would just say to Spurs, have the ball, come at us, try and break us down. That's where we really, really struggle. You look at the City game, and we took such advantage of their high line with runners in behind, and with Kane picking the ball over. Same against Leeds. Leeds play high line, they leave a lot of spaces, so we took advantage of that. But then you look to Burnley, Wolves, Southampton, all those games where we couldn't break them down. So if I'm Frank Lampard tonight, I'm setting up to just allow Spurs to have all the ball they want and try and break them down.
Well, let me counteract that then. What are you doing if you're Conte then?
Well, if you're Conte, you just Conte doesn't change his style of system. He's very predictable formation. The style of play is basically just counter and use your wing backs. But he does create an awful lot of chances. So it's just a matter of putting them away. It's a pity for Spurs that we have Conte in, who's a manager that depends so heavily on the wing backs, and our wing backs are quite poor. Matt, I suppose from an Irish perspective, like Matt Doherty, he's not gotten or hit the form that he had at Wolves for some reason. He's had a good game here and there for Spurs, but overall he's been pretty poor. But he's better than Emerson Royal, who, in fairness to him, was brought in with Nuno in charge, and I think he was brought in probably to play as a right back in a back four and not a right wing back. He lacks the pace and intensity that you'd want from a wing back. He's solid enough defensively, however, but that's not what the position is in a Conte system. Look, the first game Conte had in charge of Spurs was against Everton at Goodison. It was a 0-0 draw. I suppose both teams really need a win tonight. If Spurs don't win tonight, I think that pretty much gives top four to Arsenal. And in fairness, I hadn't realised just how bad a situation Everton were in at the moment in the table. Until I kind of went looking at it like for tonight's game, you know.
Here's the man of the moment. Here's the Everton man.
I don't know what's happening with my stream.
Tell us a lot more about it.
I don't know what's happening with my stream. I'm getting work done in the house at the moment, and I think my Wi-Fi connection's all over the place. So I've gone on to data, and that might go as well. So we'll see how we get on over the next half an hour or so. But just thanks again for Steve and Jamie for coming in as well. We're going to talk a little bit more later on about the match that is kicking off tonight at 8 o'clock. But we're going to go through the results over that, and then we're going to have a look at the table and stuff like that. And then we're going to talk about the Manchester Derby that happened the weekend as well. We're going to get stuck into that, where the Manchester United go from here. Yeah, we do actually, because United are an absolute shambles. And I'm saying that as an Everton fan. So, yeah, we do have to get stuck into it. So, I'm literally going to fly through the results that happened the weekend, have a quick look at the table, see where it leaves everybody. And then we're going to talk about the Manchester United game. And then we'll talk about the upcoming game that's going to be live tonight at 8 o'clock at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So, fly through these results really, really quickly. Leicester had a good win, 1-0 win against Leeds. We were talking about that last week, myself and Mark, saying that it was obviously going to be massively important for Leicester to get back on the winning side in the league as well, trying to get the Europa League hopes back as well. Leeds game, because I think it was last Monday, I think, was when Bielsa left the club, or last Sunday, and Jesse Marsch came in for Leeds' first game as well. And to me, we're looking at that game as well, especially the highlights, they seem a bit better defensively. And we were talking about it as well, Jamie. Leeds can score 2 or 3 goals a game, but they'll concede 3 or 4 goals, and that's their problem.
Yeah.
But they seem a bit better defensively, but it was a decent win for Leicester, and more pressure leaped on Leeds. Jesse Marsch came out and said we have 12 cup finals coming up, and that's what it's going to be. See Keane in the chat here saying Leeds are going down. I hope they do go down, because that means Everton might stay up. But we'll move on. Aston Villa absolutely thumped Southampton 4-0, which is a bit of a surprise for me. Coutinho running them up in that game as well. Southampton, that was a bit of a surprise for me, because Southampton have been playing really well lately, picking up decent results and stuff like that. It was a bit of a surprise, yeah. Chelsea, again, 4-0 winners away to Burnley, which I was delighted with for obvious reasons. Newcastle had a fantastic 2-1 win at home to Brighton, which was actually a great game to watch as well. Norwich were beaten by Brentford 3-1, which is a huge game down the bottom of the table. I think that kind of just papers over a little bit of cracks for Brentford. Probably just shows you how bad Norwich are. But Brentford, I think, have 4 games in hand, or Everton have 4 games in hand than Brentford. They've played way more games than everybody else. So I think Brentford are in a bit of a false position in the table as we're looking at it. Crystal Palace got a great win, 2-0 away from home at Wolves. That was a fantastic win. We usually have a few Palace fans in the chat, so fair play to you guys, and you keep surprising me every week, so fair play. And then Liverpool limped their way to a 1-0 home win against West Ham. We then had 2 games on the Sunday. Arsenal were lucky in the end to get a decent 3 points away to Watford. I watched the second half of this game as I was out on the golf course for the first half, but the second half was very entertaining. Arsenal did hang on though, but Watford, looking at Watford, the zero end quality to Watford's game. They don't really seem to be playing as a team, and they're obviously going to struggle. I think Norwich and Watford are already down, in my opinion, even though the table kind of looks a lot closer down the bottom. And then obviously we had 2 games left to discuss, and we're going to get stuck into them now. Man City 4, Manchester United 1. And I see in the stat there, the last 15 minutes of the game, Manchester United only had 2% possession, which is absolutely shocking, right? I don't care who you are. Obviously, we all know how good Manchester City are, okay? And it's going to be good to get Steve's opinion on this as well, because we like to get... I kind of think that myself and Jamie are fairly unbiased when it comes to talking about our own teams. We're not going to say we're the best teams in the world, and I'm sure you're probably like that as well, Steve, with your team. So it's always good to get an out. Oh, that's it, I suppose, yeah. But listen, Jamie, we're going to come to you first and kind of just give us your own opinion, your own rundown of the Manchester Derby, your thoughts on it before the game, during the game, and obviously how you feel after the game.
Bloody hell. Do you know what? Like, I don't really want to speak about the first half too much, to be honest, because I think we held our own. We done well, but it just completely was forgotten about by the second half. Like, We got beat by a better team on the day, let's just be honest. But the lack of... It's hard to talk about, and it was only yesterday, to be honest, because I'm still angry about it today. I'm usually good at shifting results now for Man U, but this one just carved me open today because it just won't go. I just think that there's too many players at that club that have been given the ability to be mediocre for too long and it be accepted. And I think that's what we seen yesterday in that second half. They physically give up in the last 25 minutes of a derby game. And I'm sorry, but we're not the best team in the league anymore. We're not the best team in the country anymore. We're not even one of the best teams in Europe anymore. We know that as a fan base. But you cannot down tools in a Manchester derby. I don't care what level we are. We've played Man City when they wasn't at the level they're at now, when they had Sean Goater and players like that, Paulo Wanchop, and they always came to Old Trafford and give it everything they had, because that is the minimum requirement for a derby. We down tools after 25 minutes, which tells me the mentality of them players, it isn't there. And they don't care either. And you know why I would say they don't care? I would never usually label that a professional footballer. But I've seen some of them players yesterday not willing to run. And that, as a fan, that's hard to watch. You can get beat by better teams. You can be outplayed some games. Liverpool smashed us to pieces a couple of months ago. But it's unacceptable not to try and at least run and get back in position. There's a culture at that club that they are physically allowed to be as mediocre as they can, and it doesn't matter. There's no accountability for performances. It's the same next week, and I feel for Ranić, because it doesn't matter what he can do. It doesn't matter. He can try everything in the book of his knowledge base. It doesn't matter, because you know what? If you can't motivate a person to run back and track back and want to do the hard yards of football, there's nothing a manager can do with that. And I know that firsthand because I've coached players that have that mentality. I have players that have that mentality.
I think it was Michael Richards afterwards when he was having a row with Gary Neville. And he said, like, if the players have no respect for the manager at the moment, are they going to have any respect for him when he goes upstairs and starts pulling the strings as well? Well, that's a bad situation to be in.
Yeah. They don't care about anyone. But that's coming from the top. The players, we ain't won a trophy for 5 years. Yet we've consistently tried to do the same model of going out and buying the high-profile players. It hasn't worked. So that tells me, there's a famous quote saying, if you do the same thing over again and expect different results, you're an idiot. That's probably not the quote exactly, but you know what along the lines what I'm getting at. And they've been doing the same thing for the past 5 years, and they're not willing to change. But the thing is, it's not about the football and the trophies at Man United. And anybody with a brain, there's lots of them in the chat. Vicky, Rachel, Mark's in the chat, Trevor. They'll all know what it's about at Man United. It's about revenue and money making. It doesn't matter about the trophies anymore. I was at Old Trafford a couple of weeks ago, and an old man behind me, he must have been in late 60s, 70s, and he said to his nephew that was sitting next to him in the chair, he was 2 rows behind me. And at their final whistle, me and my partner were standing there, and he was standing with his nephew, and he said, if the objective financially was to finish last in the league, get money out of every club in the league, that would be Man U's objective. And I think, do you know what? I didn't say nothing to him, but he was an old fella, and bless him, he was absolutely bang on. And that filters down. They don't care about winning, so how are you going to motivate a player to run and put the hard yards in when there's nothing? It doesn't matter about accountability. And I'm sorry, but someone said to me on Twitter last night, Ranić's got to take some of the blame. Ranić's not making the footballing decisions at that team. I don't care what anybody says, because if he is, Ranić's football knowledge is first class. You're telling me that Harry Maguire should be playing at the moment? Is he playing? Bailey doesn't even play for us, and he's a better player. Maguire's been awful for weeks, yet consistently he's probably the first name on the team sheet. There's leaks coming out left, right, and centre from the club, like full-on flooding leaks every single day with his little toolbox, like a little plumber trying to sort of stop the leaks. And they just keep coming and coming and coming. And do you know what? It's got to the point with him where I generally just feel sorry for him. I kind of wish he'd just leave. But the thing is, he's playing ball because he's going upstairs. But do you honestly believe that they're going to listen to him? He wants Ten Hag. The board and the fucking players, sorry to swear, but they want Pochettino. Who are they to say who they want? And this is the problem at Man U. These stupid things get made. But there's no secret why Chelsea are successful, why Tottenham are successful transfer-wise, why Man City are successful, Bayern Munich. They've all got owners, Newcastle now, that want to win on the field. We don't have that. And this is what's happened. This is a capitulation of years of bad decisions. And now it's got to the point where it's unfixable. I don't care who the next manager is. They can't fix this. Half of the team need to go. And I realize it's not possible. I'd get rid of the majority of them. I could probably fit on that hand how many players I would keep out of the whole squad. And one of them would be Elanga. Rashford's coming out today.
I said that to you at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I said Rashford's coming out of the season. I said there's about 5 players.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Why don't you start having a look at yourself? I said this to my players last Wednesday at training. Don't look at why you're getting took off. Like, don't have a go at me. Don't fall out with me thinking Jamie's took me off. Have a think why you're coming off. And it's the same with Rashford. He come out, and Romano tweeted earlier that he's thinking about leaving the club. Well, go then. Go then, because you're not doing nothing for us to get behind. Your efforts
you want to start thinking about playing football.
Yeah.
Numpty.
That's it. And I'm sorry, instead of looking and thinking, throwing your dummy out the pram and thinking, oh, I'm going to leave, I'm not playing, why don't you start questioning why a 19-year-old boy's come in the team and showed you up? How about looking at that? But the thing is, they've all got big, massive egos. And because they earn a couple of $100,000 a week, they feel like they're above everybody else. Instead of looking deeper and thinking, actually, am I doing enough here? But that doesn't happen at Man U. That just happens at other big clubs. And we played a big club yesterday and got smashed to pieces. And that's the level that everybody wants to be at the Premier League. We could not be any further away from where we need to be. I'm closer to you in a different country than we are to Man City at the moment. Sorry for that rant, but
well, listen, I think we said it a few weeks back, Jamie, that United need to probably do what Arsenal have done and literally hit the reset button from top to bottom, get a new director of football, a new manager, do all that kind of stuff. Steve, I'm going to come to you on this as well, have a bit quick chat from an outsider point of view as well. Did you watch much of the game yesterday? And give your opinion on both teams. How good were Man City, or was it a case that Manchester United just let them win, let them play the football that they're used to? And also give us your opinion. That was a huge win for Man City, wasn't it?
Yeah, like it really surprised me. Like I guess the scoreline in the end, and as Jamie mentioned about like the second half performance from United, particularly like that stat that showed up on the screen. It was like a 20-minute spell where City had 92% possession. Like.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
That's outrageous. Like, I mean, like, if you look at, like, say, Spurs a couple of weeks ago when we beat City, like, we still allowed them all of the ball, you know, like, but what we did then was, like, we just had the wide players making those runs in behind, exploiting their high line, which is the obvious kind of thing to do against City. And I just don't understand why that wasn't the tactic for United yesterday. First half, United had it. They had fight. There was like you could see it was a derby game. I don't know, like Rangnick. I get that, like he's like the godfather of this, like the pressing style of play, and he's got a great reputation of that, like in Europe and that. But I don't know what he says to these United players at halftime.
They don't listen, Steve.
Because
it doesn't matter what he says, mate.
Yeah, it's mad. It's gone like United gone from like being like second half FC to just like not showing up in second halves at all. Like I'm not trying to take away from how good City were because they were super. But I just think that United brought an awful lot of the trouble upon themselves yesterday. Like again, if you look back to the Spurs game, like we allowed City an awful lot of the ball. We were really well drilled in defending their style of play and how they attack. But just I don't know, United didn't seem to have that about them yesterday. I know, like Jim, you mentioned like the transfers and stuff, and you said like you mentioned that Spurs have like done really well with transfers. Like we haven't really.
No, but what I meant by that was Levy gets sort of a good money. If he's got a top talent on his hand, they don't go for cheap. That's what I meant by that.
Yeah, like I mean, I guess we've blown an awful lot of money in recent years. Our recruitment's been poor enough, but I think like what we do have is like kind of, like in some of the key positions. So we do have like even we're not. Like, we're probably one of the least creative midfields in the Premier League, but like Hojbjerg, like he's an absolute workhorse and he has that drive and passion about him. Tonight now, let's see that Winks has been dropped and Bentancur is back, which is music to my ears. He's
not to mine, anyway.
So good for us. But like I just think, I don't know, like you said about like the fight and that amongst the United players. I don't know, is it a case of they just have this short-term mentality in their head because they know Rangnick isn't going to be the manager, next summer. So, I mean, like, they're not going to fire Rangnick because they have that, like, deal with him to be a director or whatever it is, like, in the summer. So, the players are safe enough, I guess. But it's look, I think still, I think United are in with a shout at top four. Big game, of course, the weekend against Spurs, which would be like a deciding factor again. But I think United aren't out of that race at all by any means.
I'll just add to that. I think United are definitely out of that race for a simple reason is that I think Arsenal are going to wipe that up. I think like if it was United of old and United had players like say for example, if United had played yesterday and they got beaten 1 or 2-0, but they actually played really, really well and Man City's class shone through, you'd say fair enough. Man City are clearly the better team at this moment in time. Anybody can get beaten by Man City. Anybody can get beaten by Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs in their day. Anybody can get beaten by them teams.
Well.
I don't think our fan base expected us to win yesterday. I definitely didn't.
Yeah,
I thought we
Jamie,
would get beat anyway, but it's how you get beat.
But what I'm saying to you is, right, you can get beaten by Man City 2-0, play really, really well, but you go out the next week and you batter Burnley, you batter Norwich, you batter whoever else is around you. United aren't doing that. United are dropping points in every single game they play. They drop points against Burnley, knocked out of the cup by Middlesbrough. At least if they say, right, we're going to win 4 games in a row, but we'll lose to Man City and Liverpool, and then we'll win the next 4 games. That's how you get top 4. That's how you be a solid top 4 team. Because that's what Arsenal are doing. Arsenal are getting beaten by the likes of Liverpool and Man City, but they're beating the likes of Leeds, Watford, all around them. And that's why they're favourites for top 4. And at the moment, you can't see Manchester United doing that. None of the players want to do it. They don't want to fight for it.
When the teams come out yesterday, the one thing that struck me, you know how the players come on the screen and it shows the positional play. I just looked at their midfield and then ours come on the screen and I was just a bit like, how are we supposed to compete with that? Like, I always feel like a solid, you just talked about Hojbjerg, Steve. I really rate Hojbjerg. I my type of midfielder. I love a workhorse that can use the ball intelligently. And we just don't have that. We have players that can do a job, but we don't have that level of quality. And I think it summed up to me yesterday, and I'll keep it brief. We're just not that good. I think as a fan base, we think our team and players are better than they are. And I think Trevor made a good comment a minute ago saying we're just big in name. Like we ain't got world class. We ain't got world-class players. Oh, sorry, it's on the screen.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
The reason why you're probably surprised is on the screen because I think that's the first serious comment Trevor has ever written into this into these streams. So fair play, Trevor. But yeah, so listen, what we're going to do now.
You'll probably relate, Matt, as well.
Oh yeah.
Because like growing up, like it was always like I was always like, oh, fucking United fans. You know, like they're winning everything. Like they have it so good. You know, and it's just such a stark contrast now. Like now they haven't fallen off altogether, of course, but it's just, you know, like you always saw United as this winning machine. And like, but like I guess once, of course, like once Fergie went, like I left, that's when the kind of instability started. But I don't know. It just seems like from like on the pitch to right up to the top of the club, they just seem to be making silly decisions here and there that kind of have many knock-on effects.
But see, you see it in Gary Neville and you see it in Roy Keane when they're talking about it after the match and stuff like that. You see him saying, "We're Manchester United. We should be doing this. We should be doing that." Yeah, it's all right saying that when you're Roy Keane. It's all right saying that when you're Gary Neville and Paul Scholes and players who actually could die for the jersey. You're not going to say that to Paul Pogba. He doesn't give a shit about Manchester United, really, if you think about it. He's worried about his next 5-year contract. And so is Marcus Rashford. So are these boys. The only players that you could honestly probably look at there who actually want to play for the club are probably the likes of, like, I'd say probably David De Gea, Elanga. Like, I know everyone slags him and all that kind of stuff, but you'd say Harry Maguire will probably want to play for the club as he's the captain of the club. But they're probably just not at a good enough level. But it's starting to annoy me now where the likes of Roy Keane and Gary Neville just keep coming out with, we're Manchester United. Yeah, you're only Manchester United when you want to play for the club. Because at this moment in time, Manchester United are probably not, in terms of form, not even in the top 8 of the Premier League. There's teams that are there at the moment that are much better than them. And where do they go from here? Going forward, like if you look at it this way, realistically, if Marcus Rashford's looking for a way out, he could be gone. Obviously, you have the number 11 situation going on there as well. You have Cavani, that won't be there next year. Ronaldo mightn't be there next year. Pogba mightn't be there next year. I wouldn't blame Harry Maguire for looking for a move away as well. Manchester United are actually in a bit of a free fall at the moment, and it does kind of mirror the way Arsenal fell off when Wenger was kind of had his last season or two. That the quality of players, you could see the quality of players is just dropping ever so slightly. And what happens there is that the quality of the players and the commitment of the players drops ever so slightly. But it also doesn't help when you have Chelsea improving, Liverpool keep improving, Man City keep improving. And then you also have the likes of Arsenal improving, West Ham improving, Leicester and Spurs are in there slightly improving as well. And Manchester United might still be at the same level the last couple of years, but they're not improving, they're getting left behind. And that's where Manchester United have to start looking at themselves and saying, what do we do here? Do we turn around to Pogba and say, good luck, Ronaldo, good luck? Because if you don't want to be here, we'll bring through the youth players and do exactly what Arteta and Arsenal are doing and start playing the likes of Smith Rowe, Saka, Martinelli, players who want to play for the club and want to play for the jersey. Because at this moment in time, it cannot get any worse for Manchester United. What do you think of that, Jamie? That was a rant.
Yeah, no, I agree with you to a certain extent. I feel like I know you're sort of pointing the finger at Keane and Neville, and I do get your point of view with that. But they've got that. Do you know what? They understand the game better than any of us. Do you know what I mean? They've been at the club, they've been at the highs, they've had difficult times at Man United, and they expect a certain level of professionalism. Like,
yeah, they're able to say it. They're able to say it, but there's no point in saying it to this crop of players. Is what my point was.
Yeah, but that's. I agree. I do know what you're getting at, but what the players shouldn't run. They shouldn't give effort. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't judge them for expecting a player to give their all on a red top. Like, I get the ability wise, they might not be as good as the Kanchelskis, the Lee Sharps, that era. I get that. We're not that club no more, and I'm not naive enough to sit here and think that we are. I know we're not. I'm 32 years old. I've seen the best Man United teams growing up when we won everything, like you boys just said. I've been very lucky like that. But there's a certain level of professionalism as a footballer at any level. I coach under 12s and I see more effort sometimes from my players than what I see at Old Trafford. And I've been there multiple times this season, and the eyes don't lie to you. And some of them players are there for a wage packet. And I do think that you're right. They need to change what they're doing, because what they're doing isn't working. But I mean, I could get stuck in all night, but I don't want to obviously rant on. But you're right in what you're saying. I'm just saying you have to take responsibility as a player. If you're playing in the Premier League, you've got to want to try, and you're not going to win every game. Do you know what I mean? I say this to my players every single week. Look, right, that one, we've lost that game. Let's move on. Right, we won today. Let's go for the next one. We've trained well tonight. Let's go and get the result Saturday. It's just basics and just trying to motivate people. But you have to be able to motivate yourself. I always say, I always say this, you've got to look in the mirror sometimes and question yourself. And I do it a lot about life and think, did I put enough effort in today with my boxing? Or did I go to the well in five-a-side? Did I coach my team properly? Did I handle a situation with a boy bad on Saturday? Should I have done something? I question myself 1,000,000 times a week. But you've got to look at yourself in the mirror and believe what you're doing is correct. And I don't think some of them players can do that at the moment.
What's annoying, we'll wrap it up on this one, Jamie, because we have to talk about Spurs, obviously, as well, as we have Steve here as well to talk about it. But what probably is annoying as well for Manchester United fans is the fact that the players that aren't performing, they can perform. They can give effort, and they're just not doing it. Like the levels of the likes of Shaw, like Wan-Bissaka, you could say Pogba as well. Rashford, I've never seen a bigger fall from grace than Marcus Rashford. The potential was so high for him, and he just does not want to be there. But then again, if he doesn't want to be there, don't play him. Do not play him. That's what you're saying. Like if Maguire isn't good enough, don't play him. If Rashford's not good enough or he doesn't want to be there anymore, just drop him. Don't play him anymore. But listen, we're going to wrap it up on there. We're going to dedicate the next 15, 20 minutes to Steve's team, Spurs. So listen, we're going to kind of go back, Steve, to the Pochettino era a little bit, where it's gone from there. Because I suppose from probably my opinion, my point of view and Jamie's point of view, the only way was kind of up for Spurs from that season, the Champions League final and stuff like that. But ever since that moment, and obviously Pochettino's left, you've had the likes of Mourinho, and now you have Conte in there. In your opinion, have Spurs stagnated a little bit? Have they improved? Do you see progression? Do you see ambition there? What's your opinion on your club at the moment?
I think it all stems even going back before that, man. Like when Poch said, like when we had like the coming second, coming third in the league, which was completely unprecedented. I think when Poch came to the club, he was given the task of getting Spurs to be qualifying for the Champions League within 5 years. He was given a 5-year contract, and his aim was by the end of your contract, you should be challenging for top four consistently. I think the downfall of Poch was that he did better than expected, far better than expected, and because of that, I feel that the club probably had this 5-year plan in place, and then if he does well, he'll renew, and then we'll go to stage 2 of the plan. But he overachieved so early, and I think what happened then was that the Levy just feel that, oh well, we now have a team capable of challenging for the league, so let's leave it. And we didn't sign anybody for 2 windows, and that was where we completely messed up. And those 2 windows of not signing anybody is what I feel has led to us to where we are now. The club seems to just rest on his laurels and just kind of say, job done now, that's a great squad. But we were 2, maybe 3 signings away from being that club year on year. And then probably the worst thing that could have happened then off the back of that was then getting to the Champions League final. But our bad form and us playing poorly began at the start of that year, that calendar year. Like we were very bad, and it was the papering over the cracks of the bad run, which the Champions League run was kind of what hit all. Like our league form was very, very poor. We were really bad at a lot of games, and then obviously getting to the Champions League final, absolute heartbreak. And then the club went out and spent big money. But they spent big money on like in Ndombele, and Lo Celso, and then Ryan Sessegnon and Jack Clark. Like there was the bones of 150 million pounds, which was just so like poorly spent. But like Pochettino had long said that, like when they were on that interview, of course, he did with Gary Lineker about the new stadium, and he said when you move into a new house, you need new furniture. He said, you move into a nicer house, you need nicer furniture. So he knew then, and that was an interview he did before the Champions League final and all that. Like I mean, he said that, he knew that the squad had run stale, and like even still, like I mean, we have like Ben Davies, Harry Winks, like we only shifted Eric Lamela in the summer. Like I've said this before on this podcast as well, like, but Alex Ferguson, the one thing that I would always give him credit for was that he always knew when a player was done. Like it doesn't matter what the player's name was, he knew when he'd gotten all he could get out of them, and it was time for them to move on. If you look back over the years with the big players that he shifted out of the United team at the time, like Beckham. Beckham is the one that kind of stands out a lot for me. Also like Stam. Like Jaap Stam was one of the best defenders in the world at the time. And still he just went, no, do you know what? He's done. And I think that Spurs did the opposite. And Spurs kind of said like, okay, well, he's doing well. He's okay. He's good enough. So we'll keep him.
Don't start speaking about the good old days, Steve. I'll start crying.
Well, like if you look at, say, like a prime example is we sold Kyle Walker for £50 million. Okay, and since then we've gotten Kieran Trippier, Serge Aurier, Matt Doherty, and Emerson Royal, and none of them have come close to replacing Kyle Walker. So that's how poorly our recruitment seems to work in recent years. Now there's an awful lot of like what could have been. I know like Bruno Fernandes had his bags packed and he was ready to come to Spurs. Jack Grealish, again, same. It was done, and then they got the new owners in and they vetoed the move. Bruno Fernandes, the sporting director, made him sign the new contract with the release fee so that they get more money out of it off of United. And then, of course, like if you're given the choice of Spurs or Man United, it's going to be Man United. Luis Diaz in January. Like Luis Diaz, Liverpool were looking at Luis Diaz for €80 million. Spurs came in, did all the negotiating to get the deal done, and like 20 million knocked off the price, only for Liverpool to come in at the end going, we'll match it. And then obviously like you're going to choose Liverpool at the moment over Spurs. So there's been a lot of those kind of like hard luck stories, but at the same time I think that like we've bought quite badly. I mean, even last summer, like I know like I think like Christian Romero I think will be one of the best defenders in the world in a few years. The problem is I don't think he'll be at Spurs. I honestly think that he's going to be PK's replacement at Barcelona. I just have a funny feeling. But like Eric Dyer has done really well this season, but he's not like, if we want to be where we want to be, we want to be competing for top four, or even more. Like the likes of Ben Davies, Eric Dyer, Harry Winks, like they can't be in around the squad, let alone the starting 11. Like,
so,
like I I don't mean it as a dig, Matt, like say about Everton, but like over the last few years, you've seen like at Everton, there's been some pretty poor recruitment as well, and money badly spent, and like you're currently in 17th. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like but I'm only saying that in terms of like it's very, very easy to just slip from, we'll say, that top 6 area to mid-table to like, will we stay up?
Everton have done that in the last 4 seasons. So Everton have done that in the last 4 seasons. Just before we move on to the next question, I want to ask you, Steve. I have a question in here from Trevor. I think he said, Matt, just wondering, is DJ Steve available for a 30th birthday party on short notice? And he also said Spurs trophy cabinet is the same since Scarpe left, locked and dusty. Sorry, Steve, I just had to say it. Yeah, so that's Trevor. He's our weekly man that comes in and throws around the banter. So unfortunately, you're the man to get it this week.
Yeah.
But
like we have loads of trophies. Like I mean, the problem is that like since Daniel Levy and Enoch came in, we've only won. Do you know? Like,
but you know what it is, Steve, as well, right? You say you can spend all the money in the world these days, right? But you have to realise how competitive the league is. Like Spurs aren't the only team spending money. United aren't the only team spending money. Mad money being spent left, right, and centre every single window. Leicester are spending money. Like Burnley spent 12 million on a striker, and they're nearly getting relegated every year. Newcastle just spent 100 million. They're going to be spending mad money next season as well. West Ham are spending mad money. If West Ham sell the likes of Declan Rice, they're going to be spending mad money as well. So it's hard to win trophies in this day and age. If you win a trophy, you're doing really, really well, especially if you're winning over the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City. You have to realise that as well. But we're 40 minutes into the stream as well, and want to touch on the match as well before we head off. But I just want to ask Steve a quick question as well while we have him on, in terms of 2 questions actually. Do you think that, one, Spurs made the right decision keeping Kane, or do you think they should have sold him in the summer? And 2, do you feel as though Conte is going to stick around to complete the job, or do you think he's going to go?
Without a shadow of a doubt, keeping Kane was the right decision. I think that it messed with his head like a good bit, and then that obviously that threw off all his preseason. Like he had no preseason at all, effectively. But you can see, since Conte has come in, Kane has done nothing in his interviews except like speak so highly of Conte, about the manager. So like that was the move. Now we probably like if you're Kane and you're kind of thinking about leaving and stuff, and you're going okay, whatever, then you see that like Spurs have gone out and they've gotten Nuno Espirito Santo as the manager. Like that's not exactly going to say, oh, I might stick around. Yeah. You know, I did like Kane in recent games, especially now, has kind of he started like he's gotten man of the match after man of the match. He's spraying balls like all over the place. He's really bought into the Conte's way of playing, and I think that he'll definitely contribute far more, I think, by the end of the season. I think Conte will stay like to the end of his contract, but that's like summer 23.
I don't think he will.
I think he will just like, I mean, I think like in the summer he'll get money. I mean, that's without a shadow of a doubt. He'll get money. He'll get given money.
He'll get money. He'll get money because Kane's gonna go. But will Spurs?
I think the ship has sailed for Kane to go. I think there's nobody going to spend the money. Like,
Man United.
Nobody's going to spend.
Nah. Joking. Yeah.
Man United will buy him. But listen, I think the reason
in the summer.
Yeah, I think the reason why it was probably a good move to try and keep Kane. It was just a few circumstances there. Obviously, like you say, you mentioned it there that Nuno was in there as well. But would you trust Spurs to reinvest the 100 million they got off Kane back into the squad to help them keep?
I have PTSD from the Bale money.
Yeah.
Like Vlad Kirikesh, Paulinho. Like I think the only good like money spent there was Eriksen. Lamela, like we got some big games out of Lamela and some big goals. Like, but overall, for who he was supposed to be, and coming in at the time. I think so, but I think in this day and age now, it's the money side of things. I mean, like, it's so easy to spend 30 million quid on a player that's just absolute muck, you know. So if you're saying we would have gotten 150 million for Kane, like, I would have been hoping that with that 150 million that we would have brought in, like, at most 3 players. Because if they're splitting up any more than that, well, then you're not looking at, like, because the thing is, Spurs, the philosophy for transfers seems to be like future stars, and like low investment, low transfer fee with the hopes of a high sell-on fee. I think we still have that selling club mentality about us, even though, say, like, that's back from the days, say, like, in this era. Whereas, like, we always had, like, I remember growing up, like, breaking my heart seeing Michael Carrick, Teddy Sheringham, Dimitar Berbatov all heading off to United, you know. That was what you accepted as a Spurs fan, was that, okay, we never hang on to our big players. And I think, I don't know, was it just a statement maybe from Levy this time around with Kane to say no, you know, because I think he just kind of wanted to put his foot down, and, you know, like,
I don't know. I think he wanted. He just wanted the amount he wanted, and Man City weren't willing to pay. I think that's exactly.
Yeah,
what
I think at the end of the day, look, I don't think anybody can dispute the fact that had we gotten 150 million pounds as an offer, he was gone, because every club has a price for every player. Do you know? It doesn't matter who they are in the team or how critical they are to the team. Every player at a club has their price, and if someone comes in and meets it, well, then, so, like, and a lot of people say, like, oh, Spurs should have sold Kane, but, like, you have to pay what the club feels that player's worth to them. Do you know? And a lot of people forget that.
Kane should have tried to put a release clause when he signed that new contract. He would have been smart if he had done that.
That's his brother's fault. His brother is his agent, and, like, he's a bit of a dope, but, like, he signed a 6-year contract. I mean, nobody does that. But at the same time, when he signed the 6-year contract, if you look at the way Spurs were and the trajectory that they were on at the time, you wouldn't have blamed him for signing a 6-year deal, because you would have thought, fucking hell, in 6 years, we would be right up there, you know. But I think the investment in the squad itself was just between the recruitment and then, like, the poor investment. Like, it was just we're always fighting a losing battle with it.
Right, so let's get stuck into tonight's game, Jamie, as well. I'm going to run through the stuff because we have Steve on. We're going to run through the starting lineups really, really quickly. The recent goals: Romero, Dyer, and Davies in the back. What looks like a back three. Doherty and Sessegnon up the wings. Højbjerg, Bentancur, like you mentioned earlier on, in the middle of the park. Kulusevski on the right hand side. Son on the left. Kane up through the middle for Spurs. The birthday boy Pickford in goals for Everton. Back forward, it looks like Kenny on the left hand side. Keane, Holgate, and Coleman. I'm so nervous about that back four. It's ridiculous. Van de Beek, Allen, and the Curry in midfield, which is a very, very strong midfield for us. Anthony Gordon, Richarlison, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin is back to start up front for Everton.
Yeah, we have always going to make his return against Spurs.
Yeah, we have a decent enough bench there as well, which is good. We have options there, and I can just see in the stars now. Dele Alli to come on with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah,
and get a goal against Spurs. It's written in the stars. What's your feelings tonight, Steve, on tonight's game? Must win for Spurs.
Hopefully, when Dele Alli does that he's his goal makes it 4-1 to Spurs. But I think looking at when the team was announced, I think I looked at Everton's back four and I kind of went, oh, God, there might be something in that. But midfield is very strong. Yeah. I just can't make out. It's like, is it a 4-2-1-3 or 4-3-3? Van de Beek probably playing as a 10, is he?
I'd say Allen's going to be sitting. The core is kind of box to box, but I think Van de Beek for the last few weeks for Everton's kind of been playing as number 8. He's kind of picking the ball up around his own box and then kind of pushing it forward as well. So
Yeah.
I think it's obviously Spurs are going to have most of the ball tonight. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes.
The other side of it too, Matt, is that like Conte, like even at home and even against, would say like teams like Everton that are below us in the league, like he's still quite happy to allow to concede the possession in order to kind of, I suppose, to lure teams in to then catch them on that quick break and catch them with them balls in behind. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Everton have a lot of the ball tonight. Richarlison scares the shit out of me because like just the way he plays and like him and Romero could be fireworks tonight, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be good, yeah, because it's what the Argentinian, Brazilian, yeah, but that's gonna be good.
Yeah. And it's just Romero likes he likes a bit of shithousen and that as well, Joe. But Romero's either gonna have a 10 out of 10, or he's going to get sent off for something with Richarlison.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things with both teams at the moment. Obviously, Spurs are lacking major consistency issues at the moment. Everton just aren't performing away from home whatsoever, lacking in confidence away from home. So it is one of those games where whoever wants it will win it, I think. Obviously, every game at the moment for Everton is must win. But my 1 point to team for Everton, and my advice if I was Frank Lampard to this team, is just don't get beaten. Because going away to Spurs and getting a point is better than going away to Spurs and getting absolutely battered and losing 2 or 3-0 and losing confidence. We have games coming up that we could win as well. But we can't just be relying on our home form. We need to go away to Spurs. Like obviously, Everton are notorious for going away against the bigger teams and picking up that battle in like 1 point. They seem to play better against teams that will have more possession, like Spurs might have tonight. And they struggle against the teams like Burnley and Norwich, who are down the bottom of the table with them and stuff like that. I would not be surprised to see Everton nick a result tonight. Like you say, we are kind of back to full-ish strength squad. Obviously, we're still missing Mina and Godfrey, which is big for us at the back. But in fairness, like Kane and Holgate, only for Kane's mistake against Man City, he's actually been playing very, very well the last few games. So we can't take that away from him. Obviously,
that was a robbery. But
it was listen. We said it last week. It was an absolute robbery. Jamie, just a quick one from you there. Obviously, it's 8 minutes to kick off. I just want to get your thoughts on tonight's game, and then we're going to fly through this upcoming weekend's fixtures, and then we're going to leave it there. Jamie, what's your thoughts on tonight's game? What do you see happening?
Just a quick one before I give that. Is that Van de Beek guy any good, or?
I don't know. You tell me.
Exactly. I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. Nah. On a serious note, I think Tottenham will probably win tonight. I'm gonna watch it actually. I wasn't the footy tonight, but I think it'll be quite a good game, and both teams need to win for different reasons. Really, like Steve was saying, they're chasing top four, like my team, and yours are in a relegation fight at the moment, which is crazy for Everton, really. Mm-hmm. But I'm expecting a good game. I think it'll be cagey for the first maybe 20 minutes. We'll try and suss each other out, but I think Tottenham's quality up front specifically will come through in the end. Unfortunately for you, Matt, sorry to say that, but or it'll be a cagey game and it'll be a 1-1. If it was up to me, I'd love to see a 1-0 win for Everton. Sorry, Steve and Van de Beek just got an absolute perler, but then the top Reds will have a meltdown on Twitter, so I don't need that on my timeline either. So I think it'll be a good game, though. As I say, there's plenty to play for. It seems like there's plenty to play for every week in the Premier League at the moment. So this is just another fixture that's got different dimensions to it, and which you find in fixtures like that every single week at the moment. So keeps us all on our toes and gives us something to talk about. But yeah, I'm going to go and pop it on actually and put the old feet up, have a little cuddle with a whippet, and watch the game.
But you know what?
The first thing I'll be doing is trying to suss out the back line for Everton and see how high or how deep they're playing. And if Everton come out with a relatively high line, I'll be kind of confident in the result. But if I see Everton sitting back and deep, then I'd be very concerned as a Spurs fan, because we struggle so badly to break down teams that just sit and allow us to come at them. Our strength at the moment seems to be catching teams on the break with their space or there's gaps or there's a high line. But what we aren't able to do, because we don't have that creativity in our midfield, is to have somebody just to unpick the lock when there's a team sat with a flat back four and two sitting in front.
Yeah, I think
I've seen a lot of Tottenham this year, to be honest with you. Sorry to butt you in that. I've not watched us a lot this season, Steve. So I'm going to be interested. I'm going to watch Romero because obviously you give him a big build-up. I haven't seen too much of him, but he's obviously a quality player. I know he's a good player from his days at Atlanta, but I haven't seen much of him at Tottenham. So I'm going to have a little look at that Richarlison Romero link today. But I know you were saying you think he's going to Barcelona, but I think Barcelona are close to signing Christensen from Chelsea. So maybe that'll be a player that they're going down there. But that'll be one to watch tonight. Sorry to butt in there, Matt. Sorry, mate.
No, I was just going to say before we go ahead and look at the upcoming fixtures was that on paper, position for position, man for man, Everton and Spurs are very alike in terms of quality in each position. Obviously, at the back, Everton at the moment are a bit weak. That's just due to injuries. But if we had a fully fit squad, on paper, Everton are obviously massively underachieving, and Spurs are probably underachieving as well for the quality they have. But listen, we'll leave it there. We're going to kick on as we always do and finish off the podcast with the upcoming fixtures. I'm going to literally fly through these because we're going to get this podcast finished in the next 3 minutes. And Thursday night this week, we have 4 fixtures. They're obviously the backdated fixtures from COVID. We're still running through those games. Norwich at home to Chelsea. I see nothing but a Chelsea win there. Massive game then, Southampton against Newcastle. That's going to be an interesting game as well. Wolves will want to get back onto winning ways after a recent run of bad defeats for them at home to Watford, and I hope they do. Please don't let me down, Wolves. Leeds then at home to Aston Villa. Aston Villa, Steven Gerrard, do Everton a favour there, pal, please. So that's the 4 games on Thursday evening. Then we have 3 games on the Saturday, and it's Brighton starting off at home to Liverpool. That's going to be an interesting game. 12:30 kickoffs. Liverpool kind of struggling them as well. Brighton as well are one of those teams that they'll either turn up and be really, really good, or they turn up and be absolutely desperate. It's going to be interesting to see that one as well. Huge game down the bottom of the table on Saturday afternoon. Brentford at home to Burnley. That is a massive game. If Brentford can get 3 points in that game, even with their games in hand, that would be massive for them. And if Burnley can get a win in that game there as well, that'd be huge for Burnley as well. And then we have a big game, obviously, then Saturday evening. Going into the evening, it's Manchester United at home to Spurs. I'm just going to run through the rest of the fixtures really quickly, and I'll come back and get your little 2 sentences of what you think is going to happen in that game as well. So now on Sunday, we have 6 games. I'm going to fly through these. Chelsea at home to Newcastle. Everton home to Wolves. Huge game. Leeds at home to Norwich. Huge game. Southampton at home to Watford. Again, another big game down the bottom of the table. Good game here as well on Sunday for Europa League, West Ham and Aston Villa. And then you have Arsenal and Leicester, another big game then as well for the Europa League and Champions League spots. One more game on the Monday, and it's the mighty Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace fans in the chat here, a few of them as well. So the mighty eagle-eyed Nate there in the chat against Manchester City. Can Crystal Palace derail Manchester City's title hopes? We shall wait and see. Guys, I'm going to go to Jamie first. Jamie, give us your quick opinion on what's going to happen in the Manchester United game and Spurs game, and then we'll go straight to Steve, and then we'll call it a day then.
I don't know. I think both teams have got a lot to lose in that game, so it's going to be really cagey. But tonight's result, if Tottenham win tonight, they'll go in with momentum, and the car crash, which is Manchester United, you don't know which team's turning up, but I feel like it's going to be a cagey game. That wouldn't surprise me if they both shut each other out.
Steve, yourself?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see it as a draw. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near a repeat of the 6-1 of last season anyway, that's for sure. But I do think United are struggling at the moment, so striker wise, Cavani and Ronaldo are exactly the kinds of players that Spurs struggle against because they do well with balls into the box. If United play either one of those against us on Saturday, then I'd be quite confident if I was a United fan.
Okay, so listen, we're going to leave it there. Steve, thank you so much for dropping onto the podcast this evening.
Good to be back on again, lads. Yeah, it's been a while.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, good man. Just give us a shout out where people can find you on Twitter if they want to give you a follow and all that kind of stuff.
That's me on all socials.
Good man. And Jamie, thank you so much again for joining me. Your socials there is on your name there as well. Just to let you know, guys, on next Monday's podcast, I've just been advised that we have an interview with the author Wayne Barton on the recently released Wayne Rooney book. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Make sure you tune in next week and have a gander at that. Guys, thank you so much. Steve, I hope you don't enjoy the next 2 hours.
I was just going to say, I hope you have a terrible night, man.
Listen, thanks so much. I've been Matt Smith, Jamie McCoy, Steve McGrath, and that was the Talk of the League podcast. Thank you so much, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the stream. Also, guys, thanks again, boys. Fair play.
Cheers, lads.